What if I told you that the biggest mistake you can make when you want a female friend to see you differently is trying too hard to make her see you differently? Because if you're already close friends, she already knows your personality. She knows how you talk. She knows your jokes. She knows how you react when you're nervous. She probably knows your habits better than some people you've known for years. So here's the uncomfortable question. If she already knows you so well, why hasn't attraction happened? And here's where this gets interesting. Attraction isn't simply about being nice. It isn't about sending more messages. It isn't about becoming available 24/7. And it definitely isn't about using some magical 3-minute trick that forces another person to fall in love with you. But there are psychological factors that can change how someone experiences you. And some of them can happen surprisingly quickly. Not because you're manipulating her, but because you're changing the dynamic between you. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what that means. And stay until the end, because the final principle is the one most people completely misunderstand. It can determine whether your friendship stays exactly where it is, or whether she starts seeing a side of you she never noticed before. But first, you need to understand one uncomfortable truth about attraction. The friendship trap. Let's imagine this. You and a woman become close friends. You talk every day. You make each other laugh. You know each other's problems. You're emotionally supportive. You reply quickly. You're always there. From the outside, it looks perfect. But there's one problem. She sees you as safe. And being safe is not the same thing as being attractive. Now, before you misunderstand this, being emotionally safe is good. Trust is important. Respect is important. Comfort is important. But romantic attraction usually requires something more than comfort. It requires a sense that there is something different about the connection. And this is where many people accidentally create what psychologists might call a predictable interaction pattern. You become the person she can always predict. She knows you'll answer. She knows you'll agree. She knows you'll listen. She knows you'll be available. She knows exactly how the conversation will go. And eventually, the relationship can become emotionally comfortable but romantically invisible. That's the friend zone problem. And here's the first major lesson. You don't escape the friend zone by becoming a better friend. If the problem is that the relationship has become completely predictable, giving her even more friendship doesn't automatically create romantic attraction. You need to understand the difference between connection and attraction. Connection says, I feel comfortable with you. Attraction says, I feel something different when I'm around you. Those are not the same psychological experience. And that brings us to the first principle. Imagine listening to one song at exactly the same volume for 10 hours. Eventually, you barely notice it. Now imagine the volume suddenly changes. Your attention immediately returns. This is the basic idea of contrast. Human attention is sensitive to change. And social interactions aren't completely different. If you're always serious, one playful moment can stand out. If you're always joking, a sincere moment can stand out. If you're always available, creating healthy space can make your presence feel less automatic. If you're always talking about surface-level topics, one unexpectedly deep conversation can become memorable. The goal isn't to play games. The goal is to stop making yourself completely predictable. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to create attraction. They think, if I show her more attention, she'll eventually appreciate me romantically. But attention isn't automatically attraction. Sometimes excessive attention simply becomes background noise. So instead of increasing the quantity of attention, increase the quality of your interactions. One memorable conversation can be more meaningful than 50 boring messages. And this leads to the second major principle. Here's something most attraction advice gets wrong. You don't need to constantly make her laugh. You don't need to have the perfect comeback. You don't need to perform. Because if you're constantly trying to entertain someone, you're communicating something unintentionally. I'm trying to earn your approval. And attraction tends to become difficult when one person is desperately seeking validation from the other. Confidence isn't, I know she'll like me. Confidence is, I'll be myself and I'll be okay regardless of the outcome. That's a completely different psychological position. So if you're talking to your friend, Don't desperately search for the funniest thing to say. Don't rehearse every sentence. Don't monitor her reaction after every joke. Instead, be present. Listen. Speak naturally. And occasionally allow your personality to show without trying to control her response. Because here's the paradox. The less desperately you try to create attraction, the more authentic you can become. And authenticity gives the other person something real to respond to. Now we're getting into something much more subtle. Eye contact. Not staring. Not making someone uncomfortable. Not trying to intimidate her. I'm talking about comfortable, natural eye contact. When two people normally talk, they look at each other. But there's a difference between looking at someone while waiting for your turn to speak and actually being present with them. During an interesting conversation, allow eye contact to happen naturally. Don't immediately look away because you're nervous. And don't force some dramatic stare because a dating guru told you it's alpha. That's not confidence. That's acting. Instead, relax. Look at her. Listen. Let there be occasional pauses. Because sometimes attraction isn't created by saying more. Sometimes it's created by being comfortable when there is nothing to say. And this brings us to something extremely important: tension. Healthy romantic tension isn't pressure. It's the awareness that something could potentially be more than friendship. But you cannot manufacture that tension through manipulation. You create the possibility of it by allowing your genuine romantic interest to become known. Eventually, if your feelings are real, you may need to communicate them. And that's where many people become terrified. Let's say you've been friends for months. You secretly like her, but you've never shown any romantic interest. You act like her brother. You give her advice about other guys. You listen to every dating story. You tell her, "You're like family to me." Then one day you expect her to magically realize, wait, he's actually romantically interested in me. Why would she? You've been communicating the opposite. This is why attraction requires clarity, not pressure. Clarity. There's a huge difference. Pressure says, you should like me. Clarity says, I like you and I wanted you to know. One demands an outcome. The other communicates reality. And if she doesn't feel the same way, you respect it. That's not failure. That's emotional maturity. Because the goal isn't to manipulate someone into choosing you. The goal is to discover whether there is mutual attraction. That's a much healthier objective. You've probably heard this advice. Become mysterious. Don't reply for 3 hours. Ignore her. Make her wonder where you are. Act like you don't care. This can sound psychologically sophisticated. But most of the time, it's just insecurity wearing a suit. Healthy mystery isn't disappearing. Healthy mystery is simply having a life that doesn't revolve around one person. You have your own goals, your own friends, your own interests, your own routines, your own ambitions. You don't need to pretend you're busy. You actually have things to do. And that difference matters. Because when someone sees that you're comfortable with your own life, you're no longer communicating, "You're the center of my world." You're communicating, "I enjoy you being part of my world." That's far healthier. And much more attractive. Now let's get practical. Imagine you're sitting with your female friend. You have about 3 minutes. What should you do? Not manipulate her. Not hypnotize her. Not perform some secret psychological trick. Instead, use those 3 minutes to create a more meaningful interaction. Minute 1. Curiosity. Ask something that reveals personality. For example, what's something you've always wanted to do but haven't done yet? Then actually listen. Don't immediately turn the conversation back toward yourself. Minute 2. Self-disclosure. Share something real about yourself. Maybe, I've actually wanted to do something similar. I realized recently that I spend too much time doing what feels comfortable. Now you're revealing something. Not your entire life story. Just enough to create depth. Minute 3. Playfulness. Bring some lightness back. Maybe tease the situation gently. For example, so basically, we're both experts at planning things and terrible at actually doing them. Then smile. The point isn't the exact sentence. The point is the sequence: curiosity, depth, playfulness. That creates a richer interaction than endless small talk. And remember, you aren't trying to make her fall in love within 3 minutes. You're trying to create an interaction worth remembering. That's the difference. Now let's discuss one of the strongest attraction killers: Neediness. Neediness isn't simply wanting someone. It's making your emotional stability depend on their response. You text her. She doesn't respond. You check your phone. 5 minutes. Nothing. 10 minutes. Nothing. Then you start thinking, did I say something wrong? Is she talking to someone else? Why is she online? And suddenly, your entire mood depends on a notification. That's not attraction. That's anxiety. And the solution isn't to pretend you don't care. The solution is to build emotional independence. You can like someone deeply and still be okay if they don't choose you. That mindset changes everything. Because when you're no longer desperate for a particular outcome, you become more honest, more relaxed, more natural, and more capable of handling rejection with dignity. Now let's talk about scarcity. This is another concept people misuse. Scarcity doesn't mean ignore her. It doesn't mean disappear for 2 days. It doesn't mean wait exactly 47 minutes before replying. That's childish. Real scarcity comes naturally from having limited time and attention. If you're building your career, working on your health, spending time with friends, learning something, pursuing goals, then your attention naturally has value because it isn't unlimited. But there's an even deeper point. People often appreciate experiences more when they aren't constantly available. Think about a favorite restaurant. If you could eat the exact same meal every minute of every day, eventually it wouldn't feel special. But when something has space between experiences, anticipation can develop. That's why you don't need to communicate all day. Give conversations room to breathe. Let her miss you naturally. But never manufacture absence to manipulate her. Now let's talk about scarcity. This is another concept people misuse. Scarcity doesn't mean ignore her. It doesn't mean disappear for 2 days. It doesn't mean wait exactly 47 minutes before replying. That's childish. Real scarcity comes naturally from having limited time and attention. If you're building your career, working on your health, spending time with friends, learning something, pursuing goals, then your attention naturally has value because it isn't unlimited. But there's an even deeper point. People often appreciate experiences more when they aren't constantly available. Think about a favorite restaurant. If you could eat the exact same meal every minute of every day, eventually it wouldn't feel special. But when something has space between experiences, anticipation can develop. That's why you don't need to communicate all day. Give conversations room to breathe. Let her miss you naturally. But never manufacture absence to manipulate her. Now let's say something changes. She starts initiating conversations. She starts teasing you. She wants to spend more time with you. Maybe she starts giving you compliments. What should you do? Most people make one of 2 mistakes. Mistake number 1, they panic. Suddenly they send 10 messages. They become overly romantic. They start talking about marriage. They want reassurance every 5 minutes. Mistake number 2, they start playing games. They intentionally ignore her. They try to make her jealous. They become emotionally unavailable. Both approaches are unnecessary. Instead, match the level of interest naturally. If she's opening the door, walk through it. If she gives you an opportunity for a date, ask her out. Not, do you maybe perhaps want to hang out sometime if you're free? Be clear. Something simple. I've enjoyed spending time with you. I'd like to take you out sometime, just the 2 of us. That's confident. That's respectful. And it gives her the freedom to say yes or no. This might be the most important part of the entire video. Because attraction cannot be guaranteed. She may say, I don't see you that way. And if that happens, respect it. Don't argue. Don't try to convince her. Don't send her videos about how attraction works. Don't tell her she's making a mistake. And don't punish her for being honest. You can say, I understand. Thanks for being honest with me. That's strength. Because real confidence isn't controlling the outcome. Real confidence is being able to handle any outcome. And sometimes, the most attractive thing you can do is accept someone's boundary without resentment. Let's make this extremely practical. If you want a friendship to potentially develop into something romantic, stop doing these 5 things. Number 1, stop overtexting. You don't need to maintain a conversation every hour. Quality beats quantity. Number 2, Stop being her emotional emergency service. Supporting someone is good, but don't make yourself responsible for solving every problem in her life. Number 3, stop hiding your personality. If you're interested in something unusual, talk about it. If you have ambitions, share them. If you disagree respectfully, say so. Number 4, stop trying to make her jealous. Jealousy games create insecurity, not healthy attraction. Number 5, stop pretending you don't like her. If you genuinely develop romantic feelings, eventually you need honesty. Otherwise, you're expecting someone to read your mind. Now we reach the principle I promised you at the beginning. And it's probably not what you expected. The strongest attraction strategy isn't a line. It isn't eye contact. It isn't texting less. It isn't making someone jealous. It isn't disappearing. It isn't some secret manipulation technique. It's this: give the other person the freedom to choose you. Think about that. If someone has to be psychologically manipulated into choosing you, you haven't actually created attraction. You've created pressure. But if you become more confident, more interesting, more emotionally grounded, more authentic, and then give the other person complete freedom to decide, whatever happens is real. And that's the kind of connection worth having. Because attraction isn't a button. It's an interaction between two people. You can influence the environment. You can improve your communication. You can become more attractive as a person. You can create better conversations. You can show romantic interest. But you cannot ethically control another person's feelings. And honestly, you shouldn't want to. Because imagine finally getting someone to like you through manipulation. Then wondering for the rest of the relationship, does she actually like me, or did my strategy work? That's not love. That's uncertainty. Real attraction doesn't need a hostage. It needs two willing people. So, can you turn a female friend into attraction in 3 minutes? Not literally. There is no magic 3-minute psychological switch. But in 3 minutes, you can change the quality of an interaction. You can stop performing. You can become more present. You can ask a question that reveals something deeper. You can show a genuine part of yourself. You can introduce playfulness. And most importantly, you can stop treating attraction like something you have to force. If she starts seeing you differently, you'll notice it through her consistent behavior, not through one magical sign. And if she doesn't, you haven't lost your dignity. You've gained clarity. Because the real goal isn't, how do I make her fall for me? The real question is, can two people discover that they genuinely want each other? That's where healthy attraction begins. And if you remember only one sentence from this entire video, remember this: don't become someone she has to be convinced to love. Become someone you genuinely respect and let her choose. Because the moment you stop trying to control attraction, you finally understand it.